person. So NDI is Network Discovery Interface. So what that does is you can take a single Cat6 cable to a PTZ camera or a device, and you can broadcast that straight over a network cable, which will carry audio, video, control. There's a church campus that we did. They've got 4 buildings and 4 different campuses, but the whole building is on one network. So we went and put ProPresenter in, and they're like, hey, but we need to shoot lyrics in this building, or we need to shoot nursery announcements in lobbies, etc. So what NDI does is that allows them, as long as the building is on the network, to send video content to any campus over a network, which includes audio, video, control. So we've got people that's streaming in one building and they're producing the lyrics from a separate building, but then the broadcast room is in a whole nother section of the building, and they're doing the broadcast. It's all done over NDI. I did have a PowerPoint, but I told Ron I'm not going to use it. What I'm here for today is I want to help you guys understand audio, video, lighting, streaming, ProPresenter. So, how many of you guys are like completely satisfied with your sound system in your church?
Nobody's there.
So that brings me to my next question. How many of you would like to see improvements on your sound system or lighting system? You don't need improvement, you just got an Avantis and a Wave server.
Wow, but we got another car slot, we got.
No, I was talking to this, Jim, I can't remember
There.
the name. Yeah, they just bought an Avantis console and went with a Wave sound grid and, you know. Give me an area of either audio, video, or lighting that you guys would like to see improve in your church. Anybody?
Video and lighting.
Video, lighting. Lighting.
I'd like to learn how to use the systems that I got.
Valid.
We'll talk after.
Very valid.
Okay, what was your topic?
Video and lighting.
Video and lighting. So, what about video and lighting?
So currently we're live streaming, over YouTube, Facebook, but we're using like I think OBS software still, and we have the camera we have is like ancient. I mean, ancient. It might be. It could be. So want to upgrade our live stream capability. Maybe get some PTZ cameras.
So, when COVID hit, you know, everybody was like, I just got laid off. I just got laid off. I'm like, well, I'm completely covered up. Because every church in America was wanting to stream. OBS was the first thing they went to, because that's all they knew. So, we talk about streaming, so you're gonna hear me refer back to ProPresenter a million times. Because you can take ProPresenter and, like I just talked about NDI, they make NDI cameras. I was telling him, Lumens makes a good camera, 5-year warranty on it. The only PTZ that has a 5-year warranty. BirdDog is another good NDI camera. So what the NDI cameras give you the capability of doing is you can scratch OBS, you can scratch any Blackmagic device you got out there. If anybody's got Blackmagic in their church, just go back tomorrow and just throw it away. Blackmagic captured the market when COVID happened. They come out with all these little converters and A10 Mini Pros and you know, I usually don't really like to dog companies, but Blackmagic, we have pulled out more Blackmagic devices than anything. But getting back to your point, you can take a NDI camera and you can take it right into ProPresenter and you can stream from within ProPresenter. And also, it will do your lower third lyrics. So a one-stop shop for ProPresenter and a PTZ camera, and you're up and streaming. You can kill OBS, you can kill any of the Blackmagic stuff. And if somebody's gonna spend money on a PTZ camera, you might as well figure you're gonna spend probably about between between $2,000 and $2,300 on a decent camera. The cameras nowadays, you know, back in the old days, I did work for the Department of Homeland Security for years. I developed their video production department until they wanted me to move to Washington, and I said, I'm not going there. So anyways, back then, they had what they, you know, the big half chip cameras like I was telling him. Those cameras are great. They will basically see in the dark. So when the CMOS chip came out, it dropped the price of everything. So any PTZ camera out there, even most of your little handheld cameras, have the CMOS chip in it. The great thing about that is they're affordable. The downside to it is they require a ton of light. So we get these churches, when COVID hit, they would be putting all these PTZ cameras, calling me up saying, hey, this picture isn't what we thought. You know, we bought a 1080 camera, but it looks very grainy. Well, the reason is because it's starving for light. So unless you have sufficient lighting for these PTZ cameras, they're gonna look grainy. So I tell people, you can spend all the money you want on PTZs, but if you lack on lighting, it's not gonna look good. So there's two factors, you know, that you gotta think about. If I go PTZ, is my lighting sufficient? So you might wanna think about that, and we can talk after, and I can point you in the right direction as far as some inexpensive lumens cameras that, you know, that with ProPresenter will help you. Any other questions about video? What about audio? Audio seems to be a big thing. You know, you go into these churches.
Yes.
Well, like, I have XLR and then I have guitar cables. But the speakers that are ran through the church before I even started attending, they were all wired into, it's a 2-wire, black and red, into a guitar jack, right? Well, the new Behringer X16 I got, it won't allow it won't be an output, you know? I don't know, I can't make it connect, you know?
How about for to go to the speakers?
Yeah, like the speakers won't, I don't know what adapter I need to make those XLR cables convert the guitar cable to it, you know?
Talk to me after, and I can draw you a diagram of how to rewire that. That will make it work.
Okay.
But yeah, the audio is a. You ever been in a service and you hear buzzing? Everybody knows that great sound. What about feedback? Everybody ever hear any squalling? Does anybody know what causes feedback? I want some good answer. What causes feedback?
Sound repeating into the microphone so that it keeps feeding back into the speaker.
Bingo. So what happens with feedback is when you've got a signal coming into a microphone and then you're getting a monitor back, it's basically the microphone is picking up the sound out of the monitor.
This creates a loop.
And it creates a loop, and the faster that loop goes, you ever hear the little squealing that starts out real low and then it gets real loud? That's that signal going faster and faster and faster and faster. So, one issue is microphones. So let's talk about microphones. We've got cardioid, supercardioid, and omnidirectional. Anybody know anything about that? So these right here, these are SM58s. These are cardioid microphones, and I'm going to borrow this just for a minute. This microphone right here is what they call the SM58, most popular Shure microphone. It's been around for decades. I used to do a lot of work for Ricky Skaggs, and Ricky Skaggs will only use a SM58, and it's got to have a cord on it. That's just his thing. But the reason he uses it is because it's a great microphone. So the cardioid pattern on this, if you ever heard the term microphone pattern pickup, and I wish I did have my PowerPoint because I've got a good diagram that shows you. The pattern on these microphones is, if you're speaking directly into this microphone right here, it's great. If you're speaking right here, it's dead in the water.
Yeah.
But the thing about this is, it's a great vocal mic. Now, if we talk about super cardioid, the Beta 87, I'm sure you guys know those are great microphones, super cardioid. And I feel like I'm chasing a rabbit, but I wanna talk to you about, we had a church that called about 2 weeks ago and said, hey, we're getting a lot of feedback in our monitors, but we didn't do anything. I'm like, well, what do you mean you didn't do anything? Well, the only thing we did is we changed out our microphones. I said, well, what was you using? He said, well, we was using the SM58, except it was the wireless version. I said, well, what did you go to? He said, we went to the Nexadyne, these over here. I said, okay. I said, where's your monitors at? He said, well, they're right in front of me. I said, well, there's your problem. He said, well, what are you talking about? I said, take those monitors in the front, I said, and just spread them out. He spread them out. He said, now how did that happen? I have no more feedback in my monitors. I was like, well, we go back to cardioid, super cardioid. The pattern, if this is a SM58 cardioid pattern, no sound can get here. Therefore, you put your monitor right here. So if we talk about the Beta 87 or the Nexadyne, the pattern on it also has a pickup right here. So therefore, if you split your monitors, there's no way for the sound to get into the microphone. So microphones is a huge issue that a lot of churches call us about for feedback. So if anybody's having feedback issues, you might want to look at your microphones, your monitor placements, things like that. Any other questions about audio?
What's your opinion of Smart?
I use Smart every time I tune a room. We went through 3 weeks of Smart training about 7, 8 years ago. Smart is a good tool if you know how to use it. It's very accurate. So you're running Waves. So Waves has a new plugin that talks to Smart. So what it does, and it's called Track. So the old saying, Waves says, Smart analyzes it, Track fixes it. So that's something that you might want to look into if you're using Smart to get the Waves plugin tracked. It's like $399. But Smart is a good tool, but not a lot of people use it. Not a lot of people know how to use it.
I don't even know what it is. Could you explain what it is?
So Smart is a real-time. It's a real-time analyzer that you'll set up microphones. You'll shoot pink noise through the room, and it'll show all your RTAs. And I'm gonna try to explain this in a way so you can understand it. So when you're using Smart, you've got reflections in the room. You've also got phasing. You also got time alignment. So what Smart does is it analyzes the room. And let's say you have speakers here, but you have a subwoofer that's 6 feet in front. What Smart will do is it will receive the sound into Smart, and it will tell you the time difference between your subs and your speakers. So what happens is, if your system is out of line and the sound coming from here and the sound coming from the sub, by the time the sub hits you and by the time the main speaker hits you, then you've got a phasing problem. And you normally can't hear the phasing unless it's really bad, and it kind of sounds like there's things swimming in your head. I mean, it's just a real weird sound, but you'll definitely know it's there if it's off. So what Smart does is it tells you, hey, you need to time align your sub with your speaker, and Smart will analyze it and say, I'm receiving the subwoofer at 20 milliseconds, but I'm receiving this at 27 milliseconds. So therefore, you'll want to time align your system your sub 7 milliseconds, so that when the sound is getting both to the audience at the same time, if that makes any sense. But Smart is a great tool if you know how to use it.
And then most people just use it for SPL.
Most people use it for SPL and for the RTA function, but most of your digital consoles now have the RTA function function built in it. But we use it when we do live productions. Don't hold this against me, but we do a lot of country music stuff. We've done country music for Rascal Flatts, Darius Rucker, Little Big Town, you know, and we use Smart for those venues, but those venues we have to use it because it's a different venue every time. But it is a great tool and a lot of churches do use it. If anybody's interested in learning more about Smart, we do train on how to use Smart in the worship environment, if anybody's interested in that.
How many of you use digital boards at your church now?
We just got one.
Okay. All right.
How many of you still on analog? Nobody?
Anybody on analog?
I mean, I just pulled that Mackie unit out, and I guess that was analog, but I'm not 100% because I'm not a sound
If
guy.
it's got the word Mackie on it, it's analog. Questions about digital consoles? Let's talk digital consoles.
That was a learning,
Do what?
digital consoles were, a learning experience. Oh, man, it took me forever.
So back in the day, when I used to run sound, I did a couple tours on a big Allen and Heath analog console, and it was probably from the piano to right here. It was one of the 56 channel ones. I mean, it takes like 3 guys to operate it. When digital came out, you know, I got on the digital train really, really early. Back when actually Mackie made one of the first digital consoles out there. It's called the D8B. And it was primarily made for recording, but a lot of churches said, hey, we want to put this in the church market. But it was only a 32 channel, and a lot of churches needed more than that. So what we've done is we've taken 2 of those Mackie DABs and tied them together over fiber, which, you know, now we've got Dante and S-Link and everything else. But digital, when digital came out, it was like, I mean, you think about it. Every single channel on the digital console has a parametric, a compressor. I mean, that's like going out and buying 32 compressors, 32 gates, 32 EQs, and they're just compacted in the digital.
And then added stage box, so you don't have to pull everything back.
Added stage boxes over S-Link or Dante, you know, that saves running the great big snake cables like you used to run back in the day. Anybody, who's running Allen Heath? I know he is. What y'all running, SQs?
Q32.
Q32? Q32 also? Q32 is a good console. The SQ is just a tiny bit better for the fact of some of the functions that the SQ will do. But the QU and the SQ seem to be the most popular digital console for church market these days. Anybody having issues with sound overall in their church?
Our live sound is good, our recorded sound is trash.
You don't know how to get to the recording sound part.
You gotta have 2 boards, right?
No.
No, not anymore.
So, and this is the issue that we talk about a lot with a lot of churches. They're like, hey, our sound sounds really great in the sanctuary, but the live stream doesn't sound great. So, unless you know how to mix sound for the worship environment and know what the broadcast sound is supposed to sound like, you can mix for both at the same time. But you're gonna give a little here and you're gonna take a little here.
That's what we've been doing.
You gotta kind of get a happy medium.
And we had split ours into, you know, 2 different mixes, the live mix and the live stream mix.
So that's what I've got, is I've got a live mix, which is obviously coming out, and then I've got set up to a bus, a recorded mix. We don't live stream because the internet's not fast enough where we're at to live
So are
stream.
you mixing off of boxes?
I'm taking, and again, I'm learning all this, but.
So what you can do is on a digital mixer, if you can't afford to buy 2 mixers, what you can do is most of these consoles got between 8 and 16 buses, depending on which console you
Yeah,
have.
that's what I'm using. I'm using a bus, taking what I need into the bus, routing it through the bus, and then, so then I can go in and make my adjustments to what that bus is hearing.
So
But I
you-
just can't quite get it right.
So what you need to do is you need to you need to take an iPad or something, and whatever streaming with, whether it's YouTube, Facebook, go into a separate room,
Mhm.
pull up your iPad, listen to the stream, and see how it sounds. Make adjustments completely separate from the sanctuary. Because if you're sitting there listening up to headphones in the sanctuary, and you're like, man, this sounds great. And then you go to your stream and you're like, wow, these vocals are really up here, or these vocals are really down here. It'll help you if you take an iPad into a separate room and try to mix that way. And then over time, your ear will know, hey, when I'm mixing in my worship service, I need to mix like this. If you don't have somebody else that's able to do the mixing for you, your ear will learn how to mix for the stream. And that takes time. But that's the way most people is doing it now, is mixing through auxes. Unless you can afford to get another console and put it in a broadcast room.
That's what we push, group 3 and 4 to our stream. And then they have an iPad, because the streaming's in a different room, they have an iPad where they can actually adjust levels and all as they're listening to the stream outside of the sanctuary.
Yeah, I highly recommend just doing it in a completely separate room.
One thing I'll say too is just be careful on what you're listening to the live stream on, your phone versus like a TV versus a speaker. Because what it sounds like on your phone is nothing like it sounds like when you actually have speakers connected to it that work.
Nope.
And so like you miss a lot of the bass, a lot of the stuff that you hear in the sanctuary, you don't get that. I've had that problem, I'm like, man, this sounds horrible. But then when I hook it up to a whole other device that actually has speakers, real speakers, it's like, oh, that wasn't so bad.
Right. And
The low end stuff, you don't hear it, especially on the phone. You don't hear the low end, your bass and your drums, your bass drum.
unless you put in headphones.
Unless you put on headphones or put it on a speaker system, then it sounds great. you
How
know.
many of you run vocals over top of music? And you know what I'm talking about when I say that? Where your vocals are louder than your music? Because most people will do, nowadays, it seems like churches has gone to running vocals right below the music. And that's, a lot of the elevation stuff, they'll mix like that. And that's preference, really. There's really no right or wrong way to mix. I prefer vocals just a little bit above the music where you can hear it, because we go into some churches and we sit through their service and you can't hear nothing but music. I'm like, is anybody singing? Yeah, they're singing. All you can hear is music. Again, that's preference, but I typically like to run my vocals above my music. And talking about live streaming, if you will utilize compressors on your live stream, don't over compress. But if you put compressors on every vocalist and even the instruments, and even putting some gates on like some drums, the kick drum, that will help your overall mix as far as broadcast and make it sound better. Because it is hard to mix for Susie, who, she wants to stand out. She thinks she can sing, so she's gonna sing as loud as she can. I mean, I have seen it time and time again.
Or when they're rehearsing, they're singing like this. And then when the
That's the thing,
performance comes,
where
it's
it's,
loud.
if they
It's
don't
like-
sing the same way.
Alright, let's rehearse like we're gonna.
Hey, that's a good question. What are like 3 things that drive sound men crazy about stage personalities?
Mic technique.
So
Yeah, mic
mic technique, so
Yeah.
a lot of these people, these microphones right here, they're not made to be right here. They're made to be right here. I mean, cause you can tell when I pull this away,
It's gone.
it's gone. Now, unless you are using a condenser microphone, which everybody know what a condenser microphone is, requires 48 volt phantom power, used for choir mics. The worst thing for a sound guy is to have somebody down here singing, or somebody, had never used a microphone, and they're like, well, here, come up here and say a word. Well, my name's John. Well, what are you doing? Eat the mic. You know?
My name's John. You know, talk in the microphone. Don't be afraid to talk in the microphone. Your job is to sing. The sound guy's job is to mix. So anybody that sings, please hold your microphone right here. Not right here. Hold it right here.
I tell them every Sunday to eat ice cream.
Yeah.
I tell them just to rest it on their chin.
Yeah.
Is the rule of thumb.
I tell them all, I won't make you solo. You just sing in the mic and
Exactly.
I'll make it right.
Exactly. Anybody use IEMs?
Yeah, I was just about to ask you, on the Q32s, specifically, is there a better way, because you only have so many outputs, right, for these, in-ear systems. Is there a way to extend those outputs? I know you have digital snakes, you have Deslink and things like that. We do have a digital snake that goes out to the, you know, is
So
that-
do you, see Q32, are you running your buses in stereo or mono?
Some of them are in stereo, but most of them are in mono.
So what you can do is you can split up those buses, cause if you're running stereo, you're eating up buses, so if you split those up and run mono, that'll give you a few more auxes for ears.
Yeah, I think some of them are running pairs anyway, like we have 9 and 10, 7 and 8, they're just kind of connected regardless of what you do, the mixes they are. I mean, you could run two, I think, outputs on those, but you'd have the same mix, you know, for the same people. It's not huge.
I would recommend probably just getting a stage box with a couple more outs on it.
Can they run MEs on those?
Yes.
But the stage box wouldn't allow you to separate mixes, would it?
The stage box will let you separate mixes.
Who makes the stage, who's this? Who makes it? Or is this stage box is the name of the device?
Oh, no. I'll give you some information on that after,
Okay.
and I'll give you some model numbers to look at.
Stage box is a wonderful thing.
Any other questions about audio? Like I said, I'm here to help you guys with issues that you guys are having.
What's the best way for, Mike, in your opinion, for these guys who are sound people? You know, I think sometimes we get in, because I've been a worship pastor, you know, we get into the Sunday morning, we're trying to make so many things happen within a certain amount of time frame. What's some takeaways, like just helping from this perspective to help on the stage, I think would be, I don't know exactly what I'm asking, but you know, just, I think there are times where we're trying to figure those things out, but we get in this time crunch and then everybody's, you know, trying to.
Well, you know, one thing that a church that I used to go with, the media guy, the sound guy there, you know, I would say as far as like sound guys, for me, if I'm running sound at a church, I will go in there, I'm always early, I will go in there an hour before, I will take a microphone, and I will go with my iPad or whatever, I will double check all my monitor mixes, I will be sure they all work, because the worst thing in the world is you get up there at church service and you get a phone call or on the comms unit to say, hey, I have nothing in my monitors. Well, me as a sound guy, if I'm running sound, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna check every single monitor mix and be sure that I'm getting signal to it. So there's one takeaway is to be sure the system is functioning by testing all your monitor mixes, you know, testing all these things that you know that you're about to use. Because like I said, the worst thing in the world is trying to fix a monitor mix, you know, when church starts in 45 seconds.
How many of you go to a rehearsal that's not Sunday with the worship team? You have a sound rehearsal maybe on Wednesday or another night, and the sound people are there, it's not, okay. I think it's I think you can accomplish so much more than, because as a worship pastor on Sunday morning, you know, it's like crunch time, you're trying to.
Well, that's why we set up all our IEMs and stuff on that
the Wednesday.
Wednesday. That way it relieves us from having to do that up on
And
Sunday.
then we have a rehearsal, not right an hour before service.
Okay,
We'll have that.
that's good.
Yeah, and that's what I would recommend, you know, of course you got your, whether it's Tuesday, Wednesday practice, and then, you know, 45 minutes to an hour before church starts. And that's where you're gonna, where your sound guys.
You catch a lot of stuff that breaks. you know.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
See, on Sunday mornings, we throw it in there about 8:30, and Sunday school's at 9:30, so if anything's messed up, I now have an hour to figure it out.
Oh, you'd be surprised the times that we would go in and put in new sound systems in churches, Wednesday, we will do a sound check, and come Sunday morning, we get a phone call that says, nothing works. I got a phone call 2 weeks ago from a guy, he said, hey, our sound system just blew up. I'm like, well, we just put it in, and I would like to think we're better than that. I was like, are you sure it went out? Yeah, we have nothing. I said, look on your board. I said, you see any red lights on there? Yeah, there's one down here on the one that says master. I said, do me a favor, press that button. He pressed that button. He was like, well, how'd that happen? You know, and normally it's user error, especially on the digital consoles.
Or the
because
power goes out.
Yeah.
Or the power goes out and the mains
Good
drop.
reset.
Yeah. So, consoles take a few minutes to reboot. You just gotta deal with the issues. But you can pre-plan, and if you're in a position to be able to have, generators, we talk about redundancy, Waves is, big on redundancy. But most churches don't run audio systems in redundancy other if they're running Dante or something like that. Any other questions about audio?
Three in general, but I'll defer over here, I heard some interesting.
Question, what's your, thoughts on power conditioning for all this fancy new equipment?
It's very important. Of course, you're not gonna cover it all.
Jessica, did you guys have a lightning strike?
We did.
Well, no, it wasn't a lightning strike, it was just a power surge.
Did you have a power conditioner? So power conditioners are great, they don't catch everything, but I do highly recommend it. There are power conditioners out there that will actually stop, I can't remember how many jolts it is, but it'll stop a massive lightning strike, but they are very expensive. Most people are putting in like the Furmans. I mean, they're great, but they're not gonna catch everything. But I would highly recommend putting it on everything. And then as far as like power, all of your audio should be on a separate power, all of your video should be on a separate power, and all of your lighting should be on a separate power. We had a church that had their lighting and their audio on the same power one time, and you go into the service, you turn on the sound system, and it's zzz. And then he's like, well, what is this? I'm like, well, let's look and see how it's wired. I was like, go flip off the lights for a second. Bzzz. It's gone. So the fix there was just to separate the circuits, and as soon as we separated it, it cleaned it all up. So, you talk about power, sequencing, power conditioning, all these things are kind of left on the back burner when people are putting in sound systems. It's very important to talk about, the power, circuitry, amperage, when you're putting in a sound system.
Things like don't run the sound cables in parallel with the electrical cables sometimes.
Now, the rule of thumb is to cross or figure eight. When we do productions, we use big power distros with what they call feeder cable. Anybody know what feeder cable is? It's a gigantic power that carries 400 amps. So normally you'll do that in a figure eight. That's how it'll create a loop. So same way with speaker wire, any kind of electrical, if it's running parallel with the lighting, sometimes if you just cross it over or zigzag it, that helps create,
It's not
custom.
staying in the field.
Right.
I got a weird one for you. Our church is 130, 40-year-old building, and from the social hall, there is a massive cable that feeds a panel in the front of the church. It runs right under the pulpit. And the preacher lights a wireless mic. I have yet to find one. There's something about that feel of that large 400 amp cable running under there that if he walks just right, like it'll cut out. And he takes another step and it'll come back in.
Do you have antennas on those?
Yes. And
I
the distance is not far from the, receiver transmitter. It's not as big as this room, but it's just something about, and it's one spot, I can actually go up there with it myself and walk, and I can tell you exactly where that cable is that runs under the pulpit. Because it's a small field about like this, and it doesn't happen all the time, but every now and then, his mic will cut out, and then it'll come back.
So probably need to look at frequency, see which frequency it's on,
Mhm.
and then looking at, some of the, there's a way to fix that. There's a tool out there that I can probably recommend to you,
Okay.
that you can scan and find a frequency that will probably work, cause we've had issues with the power forward cutout. But then you need to think about antenna distribution, and then, of course, frequencies. So those are two things that I would keep in mind for issues like that. Anybody have any trouble with, lighting?
Yes, yeah. We have a lot of lights in our church that I mean, this was just 12 years ago they put them in. Some of them, they won't dim anymore, they're on the wrong, dimming panels. There's so many issues, but they cost an arm and a leg to get it fixed, so we just leave it like it is. But we also have issues with like, just ambient lighting, they put some of the, I don't know what to call it, maybe REX, but like the little lights about that big, and they mount them to the wall, and they were supposed to connect them all together so they go to a single board so that we can control them all at once. Never did it, so now we're having to go through and manually turn them on, change the lights, about 10 lights every Sunday. It's a pain in the butt.
So there's a fix for that. A lot of these, we go into a lot of churches that's got these old ETC, dimming systems, which was crazy expensive back in the day. So Electronics makes a product called an AR1202, which is a dimming module that you can just bring all your electrical in, and it replaces your whole dimming system with just one box. And it's really inexpensive. When I say inexpensive, I say $3,000-4,000. But that versus putting in a whole new lighting system, I don't think about that.
I don't do in my profession, I don't do the theatrical side of things, but I do commercial construction lighting. And the things, the strides that have been made in commercial house lighting in general and control systems over the last 10 years is unbelievable.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Most of these churches that we go into, they will have 2 8-foot racks. It's all dimmers. They got the old D20 dimmers.
Yeah, old analog system.
We now have got this little box about this big that replaces both of those 8-foot racks.
Is that like something we'd see in like in the closet? Like, 'cause they have just a single box that everything comes to, and then it goes out to a panel in our soundboard area.
In that box.
What I mean is like all the lights in the ceiling, I think the connection, there's like some kind of mechanism that causes it to dim or not dim, maybe that got damaged.
That could be.
And replacing those are ungracious. And also rerouting. We got a lot of problems with lighting, but we ain't gonna fix that, I don't think, without at least $10,000 to $15,000.
You'd be surprised, there's ways to do it.
Yeah,
When
you'd be surprised.
Like I said, I don't do the
Get with me
theatrical, but the
after,
house side
and
is
maybe I'll
expertise.
come look at it.
Okay.
And if anybody's got any issues in their church, I'm in Georgia all the time. And if anybody wants me to come and look at their church, just give them a overview, a maintenance checkup, some recommendations of how to improve without breaking the bank. There's a lot of ways you can do it. So if anybody's got any, questions about that, just see me afterwards and I'll give you all my contact information. Ron, are we out of time?
I think we got about 5 or 10 minutes.
Anybody got any more questions? Like I said, I wanna help you guys.
It ain't really, it's about the lighting, we're trying to go for, we got the old can light. And it takes us 3 men to get the ladder up there to, change the bulbs out. And we're trying to find digital ones, not digital, but,
LED?
LED. But we can't find no replacements in the church, don't want to spend the money to take the cans down, put new ones up. Do you know any bulbs that, cause it's like the T900 bulb.
So they make adapters that you can switch those over to LED. We're doing a church now that's got the big ones, and what we're doing is we're just putting the regular adapters in them and putting an LED in it. And they've got like a 30-foot pole that they suction cup to it.
Yeah.
That's something that is.
And they've changed them out like that. Any other questions?
Got any suggestions for presets for like digital boards? Like any website presets already, where you can just
Okay,
equalize.
we could go 4 more hours talking about this.
Yeah.
So when it comes to EQ, if people really understood how to use EQ, it would change your world. And I've got a cut sheet that I can give you that it breaks up frequencies, you know, anywhere from 100 to 20K. You know, the average human ear can't hear 20K, only a dog can. But there's a frequency chart that breaks it up into instruments, sopranos, tenors, and that shows the sweet spot of frequencies. And I can send you that. I'll be,
Has anybody ever taken that and like, 'cause from what I understand, these presets that you can like get offline or whatever, load them into your board, have that already preset, if you will.
So you can take a preset for an SM58 microphone, but the problem is what environment is it in?
Yeah.
Because the microphone that's EQ'd to this room may sound like garbage in this room.
Yeah.
So you gotta take into account the acoustics of the room. So the best thing is to learn how to ring out a microphone, number one, and then take this cut sheet and say, okay, if I want this, you know, sweet spot to be this, here's where my frequencies need to be notched, and here's where they need to be boosted. And I can send you an article on,
Yeah.
on how to do that.
That goes into my second question, training. Other than YouTube, we all know we can YouTube. I can YouTube is the best of them, but.
YouTube, well, first of all, Google and YouTube doesn't know everything.
Exactly.
Because everybody that puts out a YouTube video on how to EQ an SM58, you go and look at another one and it's gonna be completely
Yeah,
different.
agreed. So where would you go to get training? If I was to go get training, where would you recommend?
I would call me and I'll come train you.
Call it Mike.
Wilson Professional.
Alright, so then the last thing, repairs.
Repairs.
Our Q32 got struck by lightning. We bought another one, so we have the second board just sitting there to be repaired, but everywhere I go, I'm having trouble finding a
Yeah.
place to send this thing to get it repaired, so we have a secondary board in case, you know, main goes down, we got a second board we can just replace with.
Yep, so Alan Heath is American Music and Sound. That is who does Alan Heath. So, I mean, you can send it to me and I can send it off, cause I know all those guys down at Alan Heath. And I can say, you know, I can call up John, hey John, I got a Q32 or Q24 coming your way, and you can fix it, send it back to me. But if you wanna, you know, I'll get up with you and give you my information and we can get it fixed. Yeah, as far as training, if anybody needs training, you know, we do audio training on how to mix. And I have actually got, and I can share this with you, or Ron, if we can put it in the email or something, send it out. This little article right here is how to hear yourself. The proper use of audio mixers, floor monitors to improve your sound for worship performance. You know, I've got a bunch of these lessons on PDFs that I can give to you that you can send out to them if anybody's interested in it. And we've also got some articles about if you want to upgrade your projector, how to choose your right projector, you know, don't overspend, you know, size, lumens wise, whether you want to go laser, or you want to still stay bulb projectors. But I've got 2 good articles that might be helpful for you guys. But like I said, training, pro presenter, audio, video, you know, we'll do any kind of training. Like I said, we've been in this business for 36 years, we've been around the world and back, literally. And, you know, have worked with a lot of, you know, people in this industry. So, and we've got a great team of guys that can be a good resource for you.
I got a 2-part.
What's that?
What's the number 1 wireline you see being used?
Earthworks.
Earthworks? Okay, flip side of that. How do you get somebody to use IMs, I'm thinking of a particular singer, cause we've done away with pretty much all our wedges on stage, not unless it's just for.
So she doesn't want to use them, or he doesn't want to use them?
She does not want to use them.
I say she because it's most of the time it's women.
And, I'm trying to convince her that she's getting the time to like back off of that wall, these types of things. You got any experience with that?
Yep, so we did a tour with a bluegrass band once, and the lady wouldn't use IEMs. I said, well, here, let me get you a set of headset earbuds, and I want you to try these. Well, what it was the IEMs that let in ambient noise. Because the number one reason people don't want to wear ear monitors is it feels like it disconnects them from the audience. So that's why you see some people that wear one, some people will wear two. If you get the IEMs that will let in the ambient, and there's actually a control that you can choose how much ambient noise you want to let in. That will get her started because she'll still be able to hear what's going on, but she'll still be able to hear her tracks in her ears. So get the IEMs that will let in ambient.
Could you use room mics too for that purpose?
Yeah. Like a lot of the MEs, the ME personal monitor
Yeah,
mixes,
they have the little.
they've got the ambient on there. And that's why, because, a lot of people don't like to be secluded in their ears, and that's, because they feel like they're not in control, because if something goes wrong, if they think they're singing bad, what do I sound like out here? That's where I say you gotta trust your sound guy. You just need to worry about what you're hearing in your ears and do your job, let the sound guy do his job. But I would recommend the ambient ears.
And
to
as a
start
worship
with.
leader, I would say there is a reason that we didn't want to be a recording studio singer, and that is trying to lead and engage that group. And it's hard sometimes, because I love the sound of a studio, but as a worship leader, it's so weird, like, if you don't have any ambient room mics, and you get to the end of a song, and it's a powerful song, and like there's no clapping or no response, you're like, oh, so I think you've got to have, there's a part in the church world we live in where that room mic can be a help, especially to your leaders on stage somewhat.
Yep. And like I say, I play bass at my church, and I will not wear 2 ear monitors. I'll wear one. I wear one on this ear, and my subwoofer is over here. So, at least I can hear. Anybody use multi-tracks in their church?
We just started a couple months ago.
Are you with the multi-track, like using playback app? Yep. So one thing to keep in mind, playback app is, playback app will integrate with ProPresenter as well. I don't know if you guys knew that. So you can actually go into the playback app and put in MIDI cues, and when you play your track, it will automatically change the ProPresenter slides.
What?
It'll change your lights too.
I didn't know about that.
Any controls on your phone.
Yeah, it'll pretty much.
The world is endless in this world.
It is.
ProPresenter does so much.
It's endless. And as a matter of fact, somebody was asking me about that, so I brought my iPad and I showed them how to do those MIDI cues in there. And if anybody.
But our leader cues the tracks and punches the button to start the track.
Yeah, as soon as somebody hits that multi-track, they can forget ProPresenter, it's gonna run itself.
Unless you get off track and then, well, gotta have somebody out there. Just don't get off the track.
Mike, thank you. Make sure if you we didn't get your email address, we're gonna shoot Mike's you can grab it from him now as well. Please speak to him, he's available. We'll send all that information to you probably tomorrow afternoon in an email. One of the things for you guys I talked earlier real quick about this online digital community called Mobilize. It's for worship leaders. But we also have a whole section in there for production as well. So if it's something that you'd like to be a part of, you'll get that email tomorrow, you'll see Mobilize. But there's, right now, I think about 36 production guys all over the state, some of them full-time. And for you guys who maybe are part-time volunteer, you might have questions. It's another resource to get involved and get your questions answered, on another level as well. So, any other questions? All right, thank y'all. Y'all have a great afternoon. Thanks for coming. We sure do appreciate it. If we can ever help you, connect with us, okay?
I tried to get on that Mobilize, and it kept spinning when I got to a certain point.
The problem is when I know the acronym, but it's
It's the same acronym, but it means something different.
Send me to that. So then I put in my community, so I named it.
And I think we switched. Chose class. So I was like, there's no point in three of us being in the same class. So I was like, I'll leave anyway.
I didn't start till I got Kim Moore on the military. They wanted to come my first name. I'm like, not willing to let it go. I don't know why.
But I'm just saying, it will run the world. I know how to.
That's all I said. It's not
My password.
Yeah.
Enter this stuff.
Sometimes I put
Well, what y'all did is y'all were there were a couple of persons in the area.
Yeah.
We're gonna do a program thing. And what is it? That's the best way to do it. And where we're at,
amazing tool.
Transparency.
I went straight from California to go to there. And it's the same thing. I'm like, no, it's not. Because the people that install our stuff would not install it without hardware. And then we had to buy our own computer and all this. And I'm like, y'all won't sleep you anywhere first. Pull their place to get monitors and stuff up there. And they won't pull their teeth to get the.
No, you mean that?
Oh, Jonathan, Jonathan.
So let me do this, I'm gonna find it.
Yes, I got the verified.
So Steve, you should be a part of like our, well, what you're looking for, you should be a part of our community. It's trying to screw up, which is weird to me, like trying to.
Check out the.
Okay, and just make sure, just put all your information. Cause it's an invite only. You set up your own password after we set up your profile.
Gotcha.
That's just to protect us so that.
No, I understand. You don't want just anybody in there.
That's my next. That's my next.
Not my turn.
So like you try to find, you can't find some music.
No, State boss, I basically got rid of all except for 3 of the existing microphone wires, just abandoned. Because with the stage box now, I don't need all those wires to run because I had so many problems with the wiring. And this made a huge difference.
I'll guarantee it.
I do wanna ask you were talking about finding that frequency on that wireless mic
Oh,
for where I'm having an issue
are
with the
you
power.
using Shure microphones?
Yes, sir.
So, have you ever been on Shure's website and did these lookups? So go to Shure's website, just Google Shure Frequency Finder. And it's gonna tell you the microphone, whether it's SLX, QLX, whatever you're using. And you're gonna put in what band you're using, whether it's J55, H20, whatever it is, and that is on the microphone itself. put in what you're using, put your zip code in, it's gonna spit you out a list of every TV channel and everything, and you can figure out what to stay away from.
Awesome.
Just Google Shore Frequency
'Cause I've
Finder.
even played around with like, searching frequencies and trying to find it, and it's just eat my lunch.
Shore has got they make the best one.
That is awesome. That's perfect. Thanks, sir.
Yep.
Nope, I'm with him.
So let me see if I can get this to go.
Hey Deacons, it's me, Charles. Just wanted to
This is
kinda
kinda
give
like
y'all
my
a
setup
very
at
quick
church.
Overview of kind of what I've been working on.
Let's see, I'm making
So
probably
this
fast.
is my tablet, and I'm at home currently. I'm not at the church. And one of the
So it's
things
got
I got
like
here
OBS and all that
is
stuff on
a
it.
presenter, right?
But
And
I got all
this is-
the software, but I can't. So I got the old Mackie unit ripped out, and it had guitar. It accepted guitar inputs, but now my new Behringer has XLRs, so I can't put. I could put the guitars in, but they're male XLRs in the outputs on the bottom row.
So, do you have any adapters?
I don't, but what I got is, let me show you. I'm sorry to take so much time here.
So you got 1/4 inch, but you need to get it to XLR.
Yeah.
So you can order adapters, or you can cut the end off and wire on an XLR.
Do you happen to have like a business card or something like I could hit you up for? Because like, I know like computers and video, I can make that happen, but I don't know nothing about
I can
sound.
send you a link to an adapter that you can buy, just plug right in it and be done.
And it'll go.
Yep.
Okay. All right, thank you, sir. Yeah.
We're gonna send you a link tomorrow, it'll come in a form.
No, I'm with you. What I'm saying is,
And we'll see that these 3 guys, and then we'll say, okay, this one goes.